Can't teach attitude,
Mhm.
but I can teach you how to sell any product, but you got to have the right attitude.
This is your host, Tracy Hayes. Today's guest is another superstar real estate agent as she's nearing her 5th-year anniversary, if I saw that correctly on LinkedIn. As a native Northeast Floridian, in 2022, she had over 40 plus transactions. She is trending that already for 23. Her slogan is "Sweat makes dreams happen." Let's welcome Lisa Sweat of Florida Homes Realty to the show.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank-
I'm so glad to be here.
I'm
excited.
Well, let's see, has happened a lot of times. This is the first time I've actually met you face to face.
Yes.
And we're going to interact. So our conversation is very real. Nothing besides our little pre-show conversation, as we always have. And, one of the reason why I started the podcast was to get to meet great people. And so I'm really happy you're here today.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Excellent. So as I start every show, get a little background on you.
Okay.
We know you grew up in Northeast Florida, but what high school did you go to? Tell us a little about.
Well, I was born in the bold new city of the South, Jacksonville, Florida, right here. So I haven't ventured out too far. And when I was about 2 years old, my parents got divorced. And when they got divorced, my mom was a single mom, and she got tired of always being separated from me and my brother. So she decided to buy a business out in Clay County. And it was way out in the boonies back then. It was on State Road 224. And when she bought this, everybody was like, "What are you thinking about? There's nothing out there." And she opened up a daycare business. And so when she moved us out there, she was only licensed for like 35 children.
Which is a lot.
Well, yeah, back then. This was in 79. So,
yeah.
we're talking way
Yeah.
back. And it wasn't a dirt road back then. It was on a paved road. But later, like 7 years later, St. John's River Community College, they came in there and they built their satellite office there. So it became College Drive, which became a busy road in Orange Park.
Awesome.
And so she grew her business from 35 children to 75 children. And then with the last edition, she grew it to 150 children.
Wow.
So, yeah, I grew up in Clay County. Yeah. Went
Clay
to
High
school
School?
there. No, not Clay. I went to Middleburg.
Okay.
Now, I didn't go to Clay. My daughter went to Clay, and she told me, she said, "You got to switch over." And I said, "No, I'm a Middleburg Bronco." And she's like, "No, you got to be a Blue Devil." So, yeah.
Well, I officiate college. College. I was doing college, but I officiate the high school. I just do that now on Friday nights. And I love Middleburg High.
Yeah. Don't you love it? With the little cowbells we ring and the Pony Express.
Great atmosphere there on a Friday night football game. The field is always kept. It's been a few years since I've been out there, but I do enjoy going to Middleburg for that atmosphere.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Blue Devils is great, too, because, they have the little pitchforks and all that they do. And like I said, I had to kind of convert over when she went there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I didn't venture up too far. I'm right here.
So you grew up with a mom who was an entrepreneur.
Right.
Yes. And so, as you're going to Middleburg High, what kind of things were you thinking about? What kind of aspirations as a young person you thought you would take your career? Do you have any?
Well, growing up with a strong, domineering mother like I had, we had to work. She was starting a small business. And so it was embedded in us. You get up and you work. We worked all the time. Even on the weekends, we were working, doing something. I did not want to follow in her aspirations of childcare. The children, I babysitted kids, but I was like, I don't want this full time. So I went to work right after I got out of high school. I took like a year off, trying to find myself like most kids. Don't know what you want to do. At 18 years old, you're like, what do I do? And so I was just working at a grocery store and I was going to college. I was going to St. John's River Community College. And my girlfriend and I, we decided that we were going to get us a real job, is what we called it. And so we were going to go and apply. Barnett Bank was having a job fair, and I had already applied for them twice before and didn't get hired, I guess because of my age. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get hired, but I didn't. So we went to the job fair. And, we didn't really take it serious. We're 19-year-old girls. We're in there laughing and cutting up. Oh, I hope you get that interview. Or no, I hope you get that interview. Or we were picking them all out.
Right.
Well, little did I know, I got the director of HR who interviewed me.
Mm-hmm.
And when he did, I told him, I said, I don't know why you didn't hire me. I applied 3 times. I won an essay with y'all when I was in 2nd grade, and I opened up my first savings account with y'all. I still have this savings account.
Putting a little guilt trip on him.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm such a hard worker. What does it take to get on with y'all? He hired me on the spot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he sure did. And not just to be a teller. Like most young people, fresh, they start as a teller. He hired me for customer service. So when I got into customer service, they train their people. I mean, I had to go to class for 3 weeks, went down to the Barnett Tower, the triangle, the big building.
No,
it's Bank of America now.
Yeah.
But we call it the Tower. And it was across the street. So we did training there for 3 weeks, classroom formal training. And then we would have to go out in the branch and we would be mentored by somebody.
Right.
So I really think that's what got me my start and taught me so much. I mean, I still say things that Barnett taught me. They were #1 bank in Florida.
That's always a question I always have is what things, and since you brought it up, like I said, you use phrases or stuff that they gave you.
Oh my gosh.
What are some of those ones that just a couple that
Well, they would always teach us dress for the position you aspire to. So I don't get this new, I mean, I know people were casual at work and stuff, but I still dress.
I dress like a podcaster. That's my dream. That's full-time podcasting.
Exactly.
Would be my ultimate dream, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of people wear shorts and, comfortable, but to me, it was always dress to the position you aspire to. The sunset policy, which was if you got busy and you couldn't call somebody, you made sure you called them before the end of the night. It was just, they trained their people so well. They were so into education and into investing in people. Community service. We had to do community service. We didn't have a choice. If you wanted to keep your job there, you had to give back to the community. So,
well, there's a handful of people that I've had on that have come through that corporate thing. Elaine Morgan was with Disney for a long time, for 10 years, 11 years or so. And, how important, especially, you're how old? 19 years old?
I was 19 years old.
Right.
I wasn't even so everybody that I worked with, like when we would go out after work, they could get alcohol. I'm a 19-year-old kid. I couldn't drink alcohol. I remember being at the tower and I got my first pay stub and I opened it and it was $500. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be rich. I was looking back, I'm like, geez, so innocent and just didn't really know. But to me, that was it was like hitting the jackpot,
Well, the time you spent there in the formal training, going back to Elaine and Disney and others that have come up through, the corporate bank, which the banks are very, for the most part, very structured, especially when you're in the branches.
Very structured.
Yeah.
I mean, we were taught, like I said, they were not cheap. I still to this day think they were the best company ever because they invested back in their people and they invested in technology. They always wanted us to have the best of everything. And it was just a great experience. It was great for me to start.
Debacle last year.
Right. Exactly. So, I was devastated when they merged and changed over and got bought out like a lot of banks are going through right now. I mean, we're seeing that all over the place. All the little ones are getting gobbled up and the big ones are coming in. And so,
as Barnett was bought out by Bank of America, right? And
it changed to Nations.
Nations.
That's
right,
when
Nations
I
Bank.
left.
Okay.
Yeah, I left because I had went out to have my first child. And when I came back, they told me nothing's changing except for the colors and all.
Right.
Oh, it had all changed. It was all different in there.
Right.
And people were so mad because they were coming in there and they had mailed them, they had changed their loan number, but they did not mail them new coupon books. So people were coming in to make their payments. Their payments weren't getting applied
properly.
So they were coming in and they were taking all their venom out on us.
Right.
And, we're just the employees. We're the small
Right.
fish. I didn't want the merger to happen either. I was happy with how it
Right.
was. And that's what
Did
I
it
made
cause a
this.
little bit of turnover,
Oh, a
from the
lot of
Barnett
people
people are like,
left. A
I can't
lot of
handle this.
people left.
Yeah.
It was just a different culture. It was different mindset. Everything was different. And so, I was granted another opportunity with another bank at Compass. And
Mhm.
so I switched over to Compass and went over there and was the teller operations coordinator because Barnett had trained me to do both. I was a teller and I was customer service. I literally learned the whole city of Jacksonville because back then we didn't have GPS.
No.
We had a map. They gave us a map
Yeah.
and said here, because I was
Mhm.
on what they called the elite team.
Mhm.
So we would travel the whole city. We were kind of like support staff when
Mm.
somebody was out on vacation or somebody was out training or doing something.
Right.
So we would just travel wherever we had to go.
Right.
And it was a great experience for me. I learned the whole city of Jacksonville without the
Cool.
GPS, way before the GPS.
All right. So if I'm reading your LinkedIn correctly, you'll go right up to about 2018 doing some office management type
Yeah.
positions.
So I worked at Compass. I was there 6 years
Mhm.
also. And then I decided I was like, I'm kind of tired of banking.
Mm.
A lot of people don't realize it, but the banks, we had sales goals, big into sales,
Yeah.
and people don't know that.
Yeah.
People had no idea. We would work all day and then we would stay at night and we would make calls at
Mm.
night. We had to call people. We were given so many checking accounts we had to get, how many savings accounts, loans,
CDs or whatever.
everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and every quarter it would start back over.
Mhm.
And so with, children and all, it got to be a lot. And I said, I just kind of want just an 8 to 5 job.
Mhm.
So that's when I went into office management and I went to work at a company called DPG Taser, which we sell the taser guns to
Okay.
law enforcement,
Oh, okay. Cool.
which was really cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when my bosses hired me, I had no idea what I was getting myself into because I've never been around really guns and all this stuff,
Mhm.
tactical gear and all this things
Right.
like that. And so they said, well, we can train you on the product. We need someone that's good at customer service.
Yeah.
And so they said, but you do have to be tased to work here. Yeah, right. And I'm okay with it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try anything once.
Right.
Okay, well, then they put me on the phone with all these cops that are calling in, big macho people,
Right.
that got these big muscles and all, and they're telling me how painful this tasing thing is. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to reconsider this. I don't know about this anymore. I don't know if I can do this.
So what were they? The police officers would call you in, or did they? Or I something they had some mixed accounts, individuals, but also probably had
Oh,
entire
no, we
law
were
enforcement
law
office.
enforcement only. We were
Mhm.
sole source distributor for Florida and Georgia.
Okay.
So the cops had to get their tasers through us.
Right.
So they were calling all day long. I was taking calls from Florida, from Georgia, police officers. I learned all the counties in Florida and Georgia,
Right.
all of them. And like I said, I was fine with the tasing until I got on the phone. And then I heard what they told me how bad it was. And my boss told me, he said, you cannot know what something is unless you experience it. You cannot sell a product unless you know what it does. And so finally I psyched myself up and it was my 32nd birthday. And I came in and I said, I'm going to let y'all tase me today. And the guys got all excited.
Yeah.
Oh, we get to tase her today, And because I was afraid of what I would say or do. A lot of people do some embarrassing things when they get tased.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you had never watched the video?
No. I
You
guess
didn't see the guy, don't tase me, bro.
I seen guys get. I mean, I seen people like get tased, but do like silly. I'm thinking like maybe they lose bodily.
That's what I was afraid of happening to me. Because if
Right.
it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. And so for the 32nd birthday, I let them tase me and they videoed it. And I didn't do anything embarrassing. I just said, turn it off. And that was it. And just drop. I mean, you lose all sense of your body.
Right.
It affects
Your
your
legs just go out
muscles.
from it, yeah.
Your legs just go out and you just drop.
Mhm.
And you get up and you're like, wow, it
Mhm.
can do that. I mean, you're just amazed
Yeah.
that it can do that to
Yeah.
you. Gives you a whole new respect for the product,
All right.
you
So
know?
you're doing this. What leads you to sense real estate? What happens
Well,
to
once again,
ah
another merger. Okay. And mergers are hard on employees. I mean, you got to learn a brand new system. You got to still deal with the clients when you're going through all this and driving. I didn't want to drive to Jacksonville every day. I'm a Clay County girl. I
mhm.
don't mind going there to show property and do all that stuff, but I don't want it every day.
Right, right. Well, it's a
I
different
like,
paycheck, I'm sure, too, for the
yeah.
property.
I mean, I like living in Clay County. I like that area. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And I didn't want to go over there every day. So I said, you know what? I'm tired of working for somebody and always going through these mergers and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm going to go work for myself and see what I can do with it. And plus, I've always been fascinated with real estate. I mean, when I worked at the bank, I wait on realtors. They'd come through the drive through and stuff. So I was always, banking is very much like real estate. That's why when I went to real estate school and I took my test, I didn't have any problems with it because of that background coming from
Did
the
you have a
bank.
friend or anybody that kind of gave you some insight or tease you a little bit, or is just a general interest in real estate?
It was an interest in it, and back then, I would look online at property and stuff like that. And I think whenever I remember I was working at the bank and I had already bought two homes with Watson. Watson was the big
Yeah.
brokerage back in the day. I had even talked to some of the realtors there about it, but I didn't have the money back then to do that and step away from a full-time job,
Right.
for the commission, not knowing. I needed the regular paycheck.
Right.
So, my girls were older, so I was able to go to real estate school and do what I wanted to do. Do that dream
Right.
I had been dreaming about
Not
doing.
worried getting home at 3 o'clock or
Yeah.
they got
Yeah.
themselves out. Talk about that transition. You were doing the 8 to 5 job, 9 to 5
Right.
job in that same what you just said, the stress of, you weren't in a position to do that. When you talk, because I imagine your approach, as every realtor is, by different people of all different ages, when they have that conversation with you of thinking about making that leap, and obviously I imagine the thought that you had as time is, well, it might be months before I get paid
Yeah.
again, and
Absolutely.
that kind of thing. How do you approach that conversation, or what do you recommend when someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'm really thinking about real estate. Can you give me some advice?" What do you
Well, I would say you need to have money in the bank account because you're not going to have a sale right away. I know when I first got started, it was hard, and I've lived in Clay County all my life. I mean, I have a big bunch of people that I know out there,
right?
and it was
But they
still
didn't know you as a
hard.
real estate agent.
That's right.
Mhm.
They knew me as Lisa the banker or Lisa the office manager. They
Right.
did not know me as the realtor. So it takes a while for them to change their mindset
Mhm.
that that's what I am. So I would say that you need to have at least like 6 months of reserves in the bank, to fall back on because there's no guarantees with it. And it
Right.
took a while before I started making sales stuff and getting my name out there of what I was doing and getting them to, because you're new sometimes they don't
They
want
want to
to.
see how if are you going to stick with
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah. They want
Yeah.
to see if you were going to stick with it and also if you're knowledgeable enough to do it because, all these TV shows and all make it look so easy and all, and it's not easy. It's hard work.
Right.
You got to get out there and hustle.
So I always like to spend a little segment on especially like that from just before, pretty much licensing to that in that first year, because I think it's so important because with the amount of real estate agents that fall out
Yes, they do.
they don't renew, 80% are pretty much gone before their first renewal. So that first 12, 13 months is really important. Or in this case, if you don't get a paycheck for 6 months,
Right.
you're talking from licensing for in 6 months, it could be an 8 month period there without anything going on. Based on your LinkedIn, you went right to Florida Homes. Is that where you actually started?
I
Or
went to Florida Homes when
Mhm.
I first started. My realtor that had sold me my house, that's where she was from. And so she had recruited me to come over there. And I started over there. And then when I was there, I didn't know you go and get your license, but they don't tell you what to do after you get your
Right.
license. And so I watched all of James's videos. I was sitting around watching video after video. I was going to his classes, doing that, but I still didn't really know what to do. And I felt like kind of like a lost sheep out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do I go? What do I do? And so I joined this team. And when I joined the team, I was their transaction coordinator because of my administrative background. They hired me to do that, which probably was the best thing for me looking back because I learned how to run the whole transaction and put the system and everything and
And you
implement
got paid
it.
every
And
week
I
or
got
two.
paid,
Yeah.
right? I got
Mm-hmm.
paid while
Mm-hmm.
I was doing that. And so it was good. I wouldn't go back to a team after that. After I learned what went on, I felt like I had the knowledge to go out and be a solo agent. So I came back to Florida Homes.
Okay, so you
And
left Florida Homes as a brokerage to go join this team,
the team,
but that helped you ramp now because you at this point had you even had your first sale while you were working as a
I
transit?
had my own first sale and it was my own property.
Okay.
See, I have my house and then I had 2 acres to the side of me and I sold it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only sale I ever had when I was with the broker, with the team. But then when I came back to Florida Homes, I was like on fire. I mean, because I knew what to do.
You now got it. You
I,
actually saw people doing it. You knew
I
what
got the
they were doing.
confidence.
You're seeing
Yes.
these things go on. You're seeing the contracts. You're getting more comfortable. Your
Yes.
confidence level, I imagine, went up.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I knew exactly then, I knew from start to finish what to do. So,
So if for young people out there, and you can give me your insight because obviously you see it. I'm on the loan side. You're seeing it every day.
right.
I'm just talking to you guys from what I understand. Everyone's always looking. There's always a position for a good transaction coordinator
Yes.
or assistant.
Right.
So because assistant is the other in the back office, so to
Right.
speak. That really a young person, but in this case, you were in your 30s at this point when you did this transition.
Oh, no, 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 honey. I just turned 50 2 weeks ago.
No, okay, so you're in your 40s.
I was in my 40s back then.
40s
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
because I've been
40s
in
as
it
a
5 years. Yeah.
So you spent some time as a transaction coordinator, which gave you a ramp up. So again, those listeners that are listening or those who might be watching right now, another way to shorten that learning curve. Because like you said, what your situation you were in, I think is, you hung on there long enough or door opened and you got the transaction coordinator and that kept you in real estate. Where I think a lot of people would have been, I don't even know what to do next. I mean,
You're right.
and they're out.
You're right.
They
Yeah.
just go back
That gave me the confidence. And I would shadow other agents on the team too and watch what they were doing.
listen to them talk.
Listen to them.
Or even when you asked them,
Right.
hey, what should we do
Yeah.
with this situation? You talked through it and now all of a sudden
Right.
you were putting that as on your belt. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah, it's really good for new agents. I
Yeah.
mean, I recommend that for new agents to get started.
And there's a lot of young people entering real estate, which you didn't see 20 or 30 years ago. We have a lot of recent college grads, or some people, again, didn't go to college, doesn't have any college degree because it's not required. Go get a transaction coordinator. Focus. If you got the customer service skills, which you had and obviously experience, but a lot of these young people could really ramp up 19, 20, 21 and then become an agent because now you've seen so much of the business.
Mhm.
'Cause I think one thing that helps is understanding the business from, a 30,000 foot level too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, being a transaction coordinator, I still get agents now that call me. They're calling me and they're like, we don't know how to run the transaction. What do we do? And I say, give it to me. I'll run it for you. And I still run it for them
Right.
I know a lot of people say that takes away from me being out producing. I love paperwork. I love it. I love contracts, anything to do with paperwork.
Right.
All the little details. My dad was an accountant, so I am all into little numbers and doing little spreadsheets and all that stuff. My loan officer makes fun of me all the time. He says, you have a spreadsheet on everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do. I keep a spreadsheet on everything.
More of us should, but a lot of us, I'm more of the visionary than the integrator. And that's just like slows me down.
What, the spreadsheet?
I like to. I'll start a spreadsheet and then it'll last like a day or two, and then
really,
I stop.
You can go in and filter it, and I mean, it's so wonderful.
Yeah, I'll edit my videos. So, all right. So give us just everyone a little bit of time frame. So you walk into Florida Homes, you realize this is not. You're like, what do I do next? How long is it before you're picked up by this team and you jump over there? Just a few months, or?
I was with Florida Homes, I want to say, or I think the first time like 4 months, maybe 4 or 5 months. Wait a minute. October. I'm terrible with time now. October to, I came back in June. So whatever that is, 6, that's 10 months. 10 months I was on the team.
Okay. So, but you were Florida Homes just for a few months.
For 4 months, right. That's right.
So in less than a year,
yeah,
you felt confident to go and get out on your own again.
Yeah. And like I said, I already had the skills I had learned at the bank.
Right.
They had already taught us sales. I mean, we had embedded in us, build rapport, build trust, ask open-end questions.
The follow-up.
All the stuff. I mean, I closed loans there for them. I mean, did everything. So I already had the skills. I just needed the confidence in being a real estate agent. Just a different market.
Well, how you take those skills and apply it now.
Absolutely.
Similar skills, just
similar skills.
Little different industry, and you just how you can apply those things.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Just like my one boss told me, I can teach you how to do anything. Can't teach attitude, but I can teach you how to sell any product, but you got to have the right attitude.
What I find really interesting about your story is I think a lot of people these days, you see it in the loan officer world because it's kind of structured the same way. They want to be a loan officer because they see the money, but really they don't really want to interact with the real estate agent, which they don't have a lot of confidence because they haven't really been a loan yet. So they don't have that sort of confidence going on. And they find themselves after a brief period of time that, I'm not really good at it. But they are good at putting, they did take the training and they are good at inputting and picking up and following up and having those conversations to step back and be, we call them loan assistants, transaction coordinator, and assistant on the real estate agent side. That, you took a little bit of what most people would consider, you're not an agent. You step back to a transaction coordinator, like that's below you. But that step back accelerated you 5 steps forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I did was wonderful for me. It gave me what I needed, but I did always just want to be an agent. I just didn't have the confidence yet to do that. And I didn't have the knowledge to do it, really.
Right. You had to go take that training again.
Yeah, exactly.
On real estate, because you took the customer service training. Now you had training on how to do the rest. But, and not to get on Florida Homes, but I think it's very important. People select their brokerages for different reasons.
Right.
In this case, you actually stepped away from Florida Homes to come back to what you originally wanted to do, which would be that solo agent and to go up. But how important these agents today, and we see them moving around and so forth.
They do.
That they need to find that brokerage that fits their mindset, their attitude, their ideology of how they want to run their business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you have to have a support staff. Like I can call Florida Homes and, they're always there for me. Anytime I call, we have the broker hotline. They're there to answer the questions. I had an incident right after I got my license, got in trouble with something I shouldn't have gotten myself into, but I can't sit by and let somebody be taken advantage of. That's just me. I'm a caring, loving person. And James came to my rescue and he goes, I know your heart was in the right place and we're going to get you out of this.
Right.
And he was with me all at Christmas time, went down there. We had to write this thing. I had got trouble with Freck.
Wow.
It was an investor trying to take advantage of a old man.
Oh.
And that's one thing you don't touch with. You don't mess with old people and take advantage of them. And so James went, and it was, like I said, Christmas time. I went down there for 2 weeks at Christmas time. He helped me write the rebuttal to get me out of trouble with Freck. And we submitted it and no problem at all. No problem. Because like I said, my heart was in the right place.
Right.
But a lot of new agents don't know what they don't know,
Exactly.
And like I said, all I saw was an old man being taken advantage of. And here comes protective mom. I'm going to take care of him, And he was a neighbor too. So
in the importance too, talking, you said you watched Haley's show. I mean, when she was young, she still is young. When she first got started, she was shadowing another broker. And if you could maybe even tell a story, if you've got one off the top of your head, when you were as a transaction coordinator, you mentioned you did some shadowing of some of the agents. What are some of the things that you picked up on, or were like an aha moment for you when you're watching the agent? Oh, wow, that's a really great way you show a house or whatever. Do you have anything you can remember that you pulled in that?
Well, I mean, I remember us putting out a lot of signs. I mean, when I was on the team, we had to put out like 25 signs. I don't do that now as a solo agent. There's too many signs to put up and pick up. Yeah. Plus, with all the people driving crazy on the road, I'm afraid I'm going to get hit.
Yeah.
But then another thing we did was, we would door knock. We did that. I had to do it. If my open house was on a Saturday, we had to do it on a Friday. Or maybe on a Thursday, we would go and we would door knock the neighbors and stuff and give them a little card, telling them we're having an open house and to come over to the open house.
Mm-hmm. So I learned, because you were licensed, you went and sat some open houses on the weekends.
Yeah. I was still trying to become an agent. I was just their transaction coordinator, but I was still also an agent. I just wasn't doing any transactions, Right. And, it was a team thing, and they were buying Zillow leads, and they were giving them to the people that were already producing, but they weren't giving them to the new agents. So we weren't getting any leads.
Right.
So that's when I realized you have to be a self-starter. You can't depend on somebody to give you something. It's not going to work. You gotta do it yourself.
Well, let's talk about the self-starting. Since you brought that, and you being, native to the area, like you said, you knew a lot of people growing up through school and mom and that sort of thing.
Right.
What are some of those initial things that you did to reach out to your circle of influence to say, hey, I'm a real estate agent?
Well, my first transactions weren't really anybody that I knew. It was from open houses. My first 3 deals I got was from open houses. I was there every Saturday doing open house. Every Saturday.
Well, did the team or James or, help you guide you, like say, okay, hey, you're coming into the office here and we got this, you got I'm sure a spreadsheet of every single person, or we can, you can pull the stuff now off your cell phone of every person you have in your cell phone. The thousands of people
we have them sign in. I have them sign in on my tablet, and it goes directly to my CRM, and it's so techy now.
I want to kind of dig in. What did you or eventually do? Because there are some agents that told me they regret that the first thing they didn't do was try to start working on their sphere of influence. What are some of the things that you did to start working into that?
Well, that was when I came to the team. That was the first thing we had to do, is we had to download our sphere into the CRM and send them all letters and emails and let them know what we were doing. But like I said, I didn't get my first business from that.
Yeah.
What I did get, and this is so funny because nobody wants to mess with it. My first transactions was from land, because so many agents don't want to deal with land because the price point is not that great. And I'm in a rural area. So I get a lot of people that they just want to buy raw land, either hold on to it, put cows on it, put horses on it, build on it eventually. And so I went after that niche because no other agent wanted it.
Right.
And I got one investor. She was my first client, actually, one of my first ones. She told me, she goes, I call all the agents and nobody will call me back. And I'm like, well, honey, I hate to tell you this, but it's because it's land. They don't want to deal with it, because of the price point not being that big. Right. And I said, but I'm a hungry agent. I'll do it. And so she gave me all of her listings. And a lot of those I converted after the people realized what they had to do to develop raw land. That's another thing. My husband's an underground.
They just held on to it for a little bit and just sold it off.
Right. That's what the investor would do. Mm-hmm. But I would get a buyer that way. I would show them the land, and then when I would educate them of what you got to do to develop that land, they wouldn't even want to do that anymore. They want to go buy a house because that's not for everybody.
Right,
You've got
right.
to have the right time frame, I mean, you can't be in a hurry.
And then they go buy these tract builds because all that permitting and all that other stuff is
Right.
already done.
Well, yeah.
And then the rural areas that you're talking about, some of them don't have obviously the public utilities there.
Oh, they don't have any of that
so
stuff.
you got to get your own well.
Septic, power pole, all that, pay impact fees, all of that stuff. And like I was saying, my husband's an underground utility worker. He works for Clay County Utility Authority. And we have an excavation company on the side too. So I take him with me to all the raw land, and he can talk to the people about the clearing, the cost to clear the land, the cost to put in the power pole, the cost to put in the well, the septic, all of that stuff.
Right.
And once they hear the expense of it, I mean, a lot of people are, oh, I want custom build. Well, then when they realize the cost, they don't want any part of it.
Yeah, the cost and then the process. And
the
it's like,
process and
just
the
give me
permit.
the end product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to have at least, I would say, a year, to just sit there and wait. Because like my first deal I was telling you about that was my own, that was raw land. And when I asked the neighbor that built her mansion next to my little house, would you do it again? She's like, oh, I don't know if I would do this again.
Right.
Because it was such a process.
Do you think the initial interest is, because maybe the lot only costs $10,000 or $15,000?
Huh. Not in Clay County.
Yeah. Well, five when you first started. Yeah. You first started, but yeah. But that's their initial thing, or $50,000 just for the lot, right? So they're like, oh, that's a low price point. They're not engaging in, okay, now you got to build a house on top.
You got to clear it. You got to clear it first.
Going over to a builder who's selling you an end house when it's finished,
right?
And because they had to go, they went through all those things. Plus, in most cases, the builders are bringing in obviously the public utilities, because that adds value to the home, and in his tract bills, which saves you. I want to saves you as a homeowner, as I'm sure you've seen. We have a lot of young people getting into a home. They don't even know how a hot water heater works,
That's right.
Let alone how a well works. Yeah.
I had a new one that just bought, and they called me and they said their AC didn't work. And I was like, what do you mean your AC doesn't work? That's a brand new unit. It's not working. They didn't go to the panel, the panel box, and turn on the AC. Yeah. So many people, they're first time home buyers, they just don't know.
Right.
And so, like I said, it's everybody's dream to build their own home and design it and all. But it gets a lot different when you talk about time and money.
Time and money.
Time and money.
100%.
Exactly. That's right.
We gestured on it early, and I mentioned the show, a question I always ask. You've been doing this for 5 years. You've had a good number of transactions now. You're trending up. These new agents are talking to you. Just to kind of summarize what we say, then I'm going to move on to some marketing questions. Someone who is thinking about getting into real estate, becoming a real estate agent, what are 2 or 3 things that you think it's vital for them to know or they should do? And I say do because I think they don't sit down with enough. They should sit down with more of them with just one other real estate agent. They really need to sit down and get a different perspectives. What are a couple of things that you think is vital?
I think they need to get a good mentorship going on with somebody. Like I have a girlfriend that her and I got our license about the same time. I was October, she was April. We call ourselves partners, even though we're not. We're both solo agents, but we bounce ideas off of each other. And we have that. I mean, she called me on the way coming here. We have that where we just connect and we can talk about things. If we're having a difficult transaction, we don't know what to do. We bounce ideas off of each other and we motivate each other. And I think that's a lot of it too, because real estate can be depressing sometimes. I mean, it's not like what you see on TV, all these people making millions of dollars.
Right.
I mean, you have some bad days. Like when I came in and brought you the little balloon and you said, how was your open house this weekend? And I was like, oh, it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I didn't have the turnout that I wanted. And but then you get depressed about some things. And I was depressed when I came home because I didn't have a good open house. I go to my mailbox. There's somebody out there looking at my sign. I have a sign in my yard that says that I'm Lake Asbury's realtor and notary.
Okay.
Somebody was looking at my sign and got me a new buyer out of it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Stop, talk to them. I was like, can I help you? And they're like, is your house for sale? And I said, no, I'm just letting everybody know I'm a realtor.
Yeah.
And come to find out, the guy works with my husband too. And they're like, well, we want to buy a house. So that's how it happens.
Yeah.
You know, just one thing leads to another. And you have days where you get depressed, but then things.
Because you have 2 or 3 things go bad. And then oh man, another one.
Exactly.
And until all of a sudden you get that person that calls and says, I want to buy a house.
Yeah. I mean, he's got one to sell. He's got one to buy. And I'm like, wow, I had a bad day. And then I come back in and my husband's like, you changed your attitude all of a sudden. I'm like, guess who I met in the yard?
Right. Exactly.
You know, and it can happen like that. So I encourage somebody whoever is getting into it to get a good mentorship, you know, get around a good group of people that encourage you and build you up because it can be depressing.
Now, so this is one of the, talking with Shira Kavanaugh, she is more into the brick and mortar building.
Right.
You're with Florida Homes, which is more of a virtual. They do have their offices.
Right.
It's not as active as.
Right. We all work from home for the most part, but we can go in the office. Yeah.
So, someone getting in, like here you had this individual who started about the same time. So when you use the term mentor with this person, Mike, they're more like a
peer.
A peer.
Yeah.
Like peer cheerleader, going through the same things you are. So you're sharing stories and hopefully your inspiration of coming home was upset and all of a sudden, boom, you got turned around within a few minutes.
That quick.
That encourages them to say, okay, I need to go out tomorrow morning and do it again and do it again.
Exactly.
But for a new agent coming in to find that slightly more experienced agent, that true mentor that you were referring to.
Yeah.
Because I really think that is important too.
Yes.
Because you really need that person can answer some of these crazy stuff questions.
Right.
And actually wants to answer those questions, help you answer those questions for you. Because there's some people I don't want to be bothered by you.
Exactly.
But there's others, I find a lot of the top agents are collaborative. They want to pour into people.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also when I got started, there was a coach that was coming on every morning, Cheyenne Lake. I was listening to her podcast every morning. She started at 6, which was way too early. But anyways, I would get up to listen to it. And it would start the day right. You know, it motivates you to get started. It motivates you to do certain actions. You need that to push you because when you're self-employed, you can lay in bed if you want to, but you're not going to get a paycheck.
Right.
You know, you got to get out there and do it.
Hey folks, this episode was produced by Streamline Media, the #1 media company for helping brands generate content that converts. I knew I wanted to start a podcast to reach more people and bring value to the world, but I did not have the time or the knowledge. Streamline Media became my secret weapon to building my show. They handle all my back-end work, production, and strategies to keep my show going strong. If you're in the real estate business and looking to make content that generates more leads and brings in more revenue, check out the Streamline Media link in the show notes and discover how partnering up can supercharge your path to real estate excellence. Well, so since you just brought that up, let's go right into that. Your day now. You've been doing this almost 5 years. You're coming up with a couple months. You're gonna be 5 years into this. How has you were a transaction coordinator? You're watching how these other agents are doing it. Of course, as a transaction coordinator, imagine you're probably you're logged in or in the office at 9:00, and because you're doing those administrative tasks. Right. Now you go out on your own.
Yes.
How are you structuring your day now? Or if you could expand even, how do you start prepping your week?
Well, I time block, I have a time system and put it on my calendar, where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing, constantly checking that calendar, constantly checking to see who I need to be calling back.
How detailed do you get? Yeah. Are you blocking, hey, I'm going to make some calls, or it's, hey, I'm going to make calls to this person, this person, this person between 9 and 10 or whatever?
Yeah. Normally it's, I try to follow up with clients that have already used me in the past. I'll start with them and then new leads that are coming in. But I don't stop on the weekends. I mean, if I get leads that come in on the weekend, I'm working them on the weekend. That's when we show the most of our property is on the weekends and stuff. So I just stay really busy.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year was so crazy. We were running around with buyers and we would no more get back and writing an offer on a property, and there's 50 other offers in there at the same time. And we were competing against all that, which was really tough because I'm like, I just got home and I'm writing the offer and you've already got all these other offers. So it's changed.
In the time blocking area, and I'm doing this because I keep kind of reiterating to my wife, who's with Florida Homes as well.
Oh, she is? Okay, good.
So you got to take some time. There's certain things as a person you need to take care of, or, we've got a soon to be 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. And I tell her, okay, if that needs to be done and you need to be there or you want to be there, then you have to just put it on your schedule. And if someone calls the day before and says, hey, I want to do something at 3:00, you just got to say, hey, I got another appointment at that time.
Yeah.
Can we do it after or do it earlier or whatever it might be? But how important is you can't just be sitting there waiting for the phone to ring.
Right. No, you can't.
You have to go get your chores done and that sort of thing. Do you build some of your personal stuff into that time block so you're getting that done at the same time? So at the end of the day, you're not going or go weeks without going, oh, I've been wanting to do this, or I needed to get this done, but I've been so busy for the last couple of weeks. You just keep pushing it off. Do you build your personal stuff into your calendar?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have the luxury now of doing that because, I've worked in corporate America forever to where I never had that before, to where I was always working for somebody. So now, if, my dad's elderly, my mom's elderly, and so I have to take care of them and do things for them. And I have that flexibility now to where I can do that. But then I'll stay on the computer late at night looking up property for somebody.
Which I'm sure you did Saturday with this gentleman.
Honey, I was so happy about that. That was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Like I say, you have those down moments, but then you have the up moments too. So that's the good thing about real estate,
Yeah. Well, you're taking the time. Dad's got an appointment and you need to get him there or whatever it is. And you're blocking that off and instruction. And you're at the end of the day, a lot of times we don't have enough to schedule us 9 to 5.
Right. I mean, exactly.
You schedule it 9 to 12 or 1 o'clock. And then it's the afternoon, you have that flex to, pick up that guy who called at 10 o'clock in the morning and say, I want to go look at properties. Now you've done your chores. Now it's 1 o'clock. I've got the afternoon. I'm in there looking for properties for this gentleman. You're not stopping what you're doing and getting distracted and time, time blocking is what the terminology, but how everyone actually defines that, as I'm sure, is a little bit different. One of the great things I've found, and obviously, again, talking or watching other podcasts and other, people in all different industries, finding your niche, what you enjoy doing. You mentioned door knocking. I don't know if you enjoy the door knocking or not.
Well, door knocking, a lot of people have big dogs. And so the big dogs would come to the door and I would see these teeth. And so I was, oh my goodness, I don't know about this.
So what did you find, or what have you discovered in almost 5 years of doing this is kind of like your sweet spot of marketing, something you like to do, and which obviously produces for you?
Since I'm a child from the 70s, I'm not real techie. I will tell you that. I'm not real good on I'm good at doing the transaction stuff, but like the social media stuff, because I was always taught, don't put your business on the streets. So I don't really think that's my strong area. I think my strong area is this one-on-one with people and building rapport with people. And that's what my best strength is.
Okay.
I had to say.
So I'm going to go one step deeper in that. How do you create those situations then for yourself?
Well, a lot of my business is now getting to be, because I have been in it for 5 years, it's the snowball effect. It's the Warren Buffett snowball effect. Now, you got people referring you business. They see my sign and they'll call me. Listings is wonderful to have because neighbors call you. It just,
I always
that's how it
describe
works.
Listings are like going out and setting a bunch of traps.
Yeah,
and then sitting back and waiting to see what comes into them. So whether it's a
absolutely.
buyer who's not represented, might
Right.
not like, might not be interested in that house, but now you have them to go look at others.
Right.
So of what I'm gathering is you're doing regular calls or some sort of contact
Mhm.
with every past client, whether you did a deal with them or not, because you don't know when someone's life changes,
Right. Life changes all the time.
type of thing. Are you doing anything, when you do an open house, are you taking the team that you worked at, are you knocking so many doors to the left and right? What are some of those things that you do to leverage an open house to get the most out of it?
Yeah, I still do the door knocking, or if nobody's showing up, I'll just go stand outside, and
Mm-hmm.
when people are going by, wave to them.
Right.
And they'll normally stop and talk to you. I mean, they wanna look at the
Or they're walking
house
their
or
dog or whatever.
walking the dog. Yeah, the one I'm
Mhm.
doing now, the 55 plus community, those people are real tight knit. They love that stuff. When somebody new was the day I was putting my sign out, 3 people came over there. I was just outside putting
As
out the
soon as
sign.
Yeah.
Right when I'm putting it out, they run up to you. They're like little magnets and wanna know what's going on. "Why is she moving? How much she want for the house?" That kinda stuff. So, yeah, that's how I'm getting most of my
Mhm.
people now is just from my previous listings and previous customers.
You mentioned the neighborhood you lived in, and you have your
I have
sign.
my sign out.
Yeah.
Wasn't that ingenious? I said,
Yeah.
I said, sorry, Jacksonville people, but I was tired of them using Jacksonville realtors because real estate is so that area. You
Mhm.
really have to know your market. And so I said, I got to let these people out here know that I'm a realtor, what I do. So I put that sign out there, but it looks like a real estate sign. It doesn't say for sale. It just says Lake Asbury Realtor on it and
Mhm.
notary because I'm a notary
Mhm.
also.
Mhm.
And so many people have called about that sign. I had one lady arguing with me, telling me that it was false advertisement, that I was going to sell my house. And I said, honey, it don't say for sale anywhere on that sign. And I had another agent, she reached out to me and she thought it was for sale. And she said, Lisa, are you selling your house? And I'm like, no, ma'am. I don't want to ever say the word never because I will never say never, but I love my home. I don't want to move.
Right.
And so it's gotten a lot of attention that way.
Give me your thought, your ideology on the community, because I truly believe there are some agents who are really working a community.
Mhm.
They're doing monthly marketing
Right.
report, market report or whatever type of thing. You've got your sign yard
Yes, I
to
do.
be known as the realtor in that neighborhood.
And I'm the notary. I notarize for all of them in there now.
Right.
They all come to me, and I can't
Do you
tell
even
you the
charge
business.
them? Do you charge them
Oh,
or?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
charge them for my notary. And I do weddings now too.
Oh,
Yeah.
so,
That just started like last year because
right.
I had went and did some notary work for a lady. Or maybe it's 2 years ago. Like I said, I'm terrible with time.
Mhm.
And she called me and she goes, "We liked you so much. Can you come over and marry us?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't done that before, but okay, sure, I'll try it." And so now I've gotten business that way too. People will call me afterwards about that.
Well, I know some agents have the attitude they need a greater geographic area,
Yeah,
which Northeast Florida is pretty big. You start going all the way up to Fernandina down
right.
to, I think, you start to push into Palm Coast.
Right.
That's a huge, and then
It's a
west
huge area.
out to Stark, really, from that standpoint.
And I've sold out in Stark too. I go out there.
But as we mentioned pre-show, I noticed a lot of your sales in a certain zip
Yeah.
code. How important is it, or let's say how important it is, but how has it changed your business to kind of like really focus in on your own personal neighborhood?
Mhm.
But I imagine, you've probably got some other neighboring neighborhoods too that
Right.
you're actually working, that you don't actually have to go too far and do pretty good within a short radius of your own home.
Yeah, I try to keep it, like I say, to Clay County because I know that area, like, really know that area since I've been there since '79. And then, of course, I'll go to Duval, I'll go to Stark and
Mhm.
Putnam County. I have learned this is one of the things new realtors should learn. If you gotta go too far, refer it out. Don't do it. I
Mhm.
mean, you're doing your client an injustice, you don't know that area. Um Like, I think I went down one time to Ormond Beach. I don't know Ormond Beach.
Right.
That was too far for me to go.
Right.
I spent more gas and headache going down there. It wasn't even worth it for me. So I've learned the ones that are like that, I just refer them in. I don't even take them anymore.
Right.
I'd rather, there's enough business where I'm at to stay where I'm at.
And hopefully you'll get it reciprocated. I mean,
Right.
okay, you might have made a few extra dollars if you actually did the entire transaction, but the time and energy of you being away from your home turf.
Right. Exactly.
Probably cost you a sale. And then hopefully that Ormond Beach person thinks of you when someone they get a call from.
Exactly. Exactly. And to get on that subject is, agents treating each other right and reciprocating and all. And, we were taught at Barnett, your customer is not just your customer in front of you. It's your external customers. It's the employees you work with.
Yes.
So always be nice to the other agent, because
I'm going to say it again.
That is just, to me, a no-brainer. I mean, I don't ever want another agent to say, I did a transaction with Lisa and she was terrible.
Right.
I always try to treat everybody like I would want to be treated.
Patty Ketchum. I consider her Mrs. Real Estate.
I love me some Patty.
She said, I was going back into her video, and that's like a year and a half old now, but I was going back and, cutting some reels out. And the one I caught is she talks about she had neglected to go to her board early in her career. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until she was like 8 or 9 years, 10 years into her real estate career, someone reached out because she was doing trainings and said, hey, you want to get more involved. She regrets not getting more involved because she says at the end, if you go on my YouTube shorts thing, the end of her reel, it's not the buyers and sellers that'll make or break your business. It's the other real estate agents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I saw that a lot last year when, the sellers were in control, when they had the market. Mm-hmm. The listing agents were, I felt, taking advantage of the buyer's agents. And I just never want to be like that. I want it to be a good transaction for us and both of us to walk away happy.
Right.
Because our end goal is to get the people to get the seller sold and the buyer in their new home.
Tell me, this is a question I've been asking here recently because I'm just going through and researching real estate, mm-hmm. videos and the short form videos and so forth. Give us an example of one of those situations when you have a realtor on the other side. Because I don't think a lot of times, obviously a buyer, seller listening, or maybe someone who's just a real estate agent doesn't even realize they're even doing this. But what is, a situation where, and you don't have to mention names, obviously, mm-hmm. where you had
I can't.
We had agents, because everyone's had it, where you had that difficult agent on the other side.
Yeah.
And they're not like, okay, we're just trying to get to close. Your buyer's
That's right.
You're trying to buy and I'm trying to sell
exactly.
your home, or vice versa.
Simple. It's so simple.
What are some things that you think they're doing, or what do you think their attitude is that causes some friction?
One of the worst transactions I ever had, and I won't say the name, like you said, I'll be good for once. I had the buyer, and the listing agent didn't do their homework. They listed the home. They didn't do their homework on it. They didn't know anything about the house. They had put on there that it was on septic. It wasn't on septic. It was on city water. So the home inspector shows up, and I told him, I said, it's on septic. And he says, I don't think so. And I said, well, they've got it listed that it is. Oh. And so then I told you my husband works for the county. So I called and gave him the address, and he's like, it's not on ours. And so I'm walking around trying to figure out where the septic is. He couldn't figure out where the septic was. And then come to find out it was on Town of Orange Park, which is only like 2 blocks. So that's why it didn't show up on Clay County Utilities, because it was just that 2 blocks, that small little area. But they didn't do their homework. And then when you call them and you talk to them about it, they don't want to be bothered with it. When I would ask something about, we didn't get closed on time. We didn't close that Friday. It was pushed to Monday because of the lender. Mm-hmm. Not everything goes like it's supposed to. Stuff happens.
Stuff doesn't happen.
Right.
You haven't done this long enough.
Exactly. And so he had already come to town from New Jersey. And so all he had asked was, since it wasn't going to close to Monday, could he go over and work in the backyard and clean clean the backyard and get it ready for him to move in,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was a simple request because even if the deal falls through, the seller's got a clean backyard. I didn't see anything really wrong
No,
with it.
you and I don't, but the
I mean,
lawyers do.
right, exactly. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with
Yeah.
it. And so they told me that the seller had said, absolutely not. Well, I get to closing and I asked the seller about it, and they're like, he could have come over here and cleaned the backyard. We didn't care. They never even asked us. And I'm like, why did they just ask him that?
Yeah.
I don't understand why not being transparent, not
or to just say, I could see an agent say, no, I'm not going to advise my clients to do it because of the liability.
the liability,
purposes.
right?
Okay, there's an
Exactly.
answer.
There you go.
You've got an answer, and that's why they
Right.
made it. But just to say that you actually, the seller said no and lie about it, why
That's
did
what
you
I'm
have to do
saying.
that?
That's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
don't understand that. I
Yeah.
really don't understand that at all. It just blows my mind.
I have found, because I get texts all the time because I was with a bank at one time down and spent a lot more time down in St. Augustine, doing condos.
Yeah.
And the due diligence, like you said, that person didn't do the due diligence on the listing they had.
Right.
I see it very consistently, and I tell agents all the time, if you're looking to buy a condo, don't trust that agent did their due diligence.
Right.
Is that place under a lawsuit or not? That should be the first question
That should be
you
the
ask.
first question.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And a lot of times they just list the house. They don't even know. They haven't even checked into the condo association to make sure it's financially in good shape. Stuff that's going to blow up a loan.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because you need all that for lending purposes. Right. Yeah.
Right.
But a lot of them, they don't do that. They'll just, put it on the market and not do any of the, well, that was really last year. Like I said, it's changed this year because they're realizing they need the buyers now. They need the buyers' agents.
Have you started to see a little bit of opting out of some of the, we were talking about as the year started to go around and the interest rates went up. Obviously, you're talking about mortgage loan officers falling out, getting out of the industry. Have you started to see some of that yet yourself, as some agents just, you don't see them?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of the girls that I know, and they said that they're getting regular jobs. They're having to go and get jobs to supplement their income because real estate has slowed down.
Well,
so
to get, typically to get a listing, you kind of want to have a reputation.
Right.
There is marketing involved, and you actually have to, unless truly a friend is calling you, but you only have so many friends that are selling their house at any one time. And, when you start competing, that's when your experience comes in. That's where your customer service comes in. Now you actually have to sell. Now you actually have to go in and do some research before.
Absolutely. Right. We're getting back to how it was when I first started 5 years ago, where you actually had to work to sell the home. Last year and year before was all just put the sign out there and it would sell itself. But now we're having to get back to creative ways to sell it.
Talking about, listing and so forth, in all the great agents talk about, even when it's hot, like last, before the interest rates started going up, really, you go back in even 21, where you didn't have to really do a lot. The house was sold over the weekend type of thing. But it's your brand. When you're listing that house, even though it's going to sell, in over the weekend, and you're going to have multiple offers because it's just a great house and great location, price is right, and that sort of thing. What are some things that are staples to Lisa's listing that you're going to go out and, no matter whether that house might sell in 24 hours or take 24 days now, what are some things that you're going to do no matter what, because it's you when you're in your brand on the front of that house?
Absolutely. Well, I always get professional pictures. I do not chimps on that. I see some of these agents go around with their cell phone and take pictures, and I'm like, that's an injustice to the seller. And like you said, to my brand. I mean, they're paying me for a service and I want a premium service. So the professional pictures, I have it set up real pretty inside. I always go and put like a little bucket with all these little giveaways and stuff in it, water and I don't know, little treats and stuff, advertise the house. And of course, my keychains out there, my pins are out there. The forms for people to fill out when they're walking around the house, telling me what they think of the house. Because I want their feedback.
You want to give the feedback to the listing agent?
I want to give the feedback. That's right. Yeah.
And if you want to own a certain area or subdivision, some of those comments they're making about that house might be something you might do differently at the next house you list in
Absolutely.
that neighborhood. Like maybe the
Absolutely.
price is too high. I mean, obviously that's probably somebody.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
always, normally you get
somebody's gonna
that.
say that.
Right, somebody's always gonna say that. I've had, a lot of my houses I'll go in and you can tell I'm kinda like into bedazzled stuff. So I'll go in and put in my little plugins and make it smell fresh and all that.
Mhm.
And then I've had some people say, "There's all those smells in here. What are you masking?" And I'm like, "Masking anything. I just want it to smell clean,
Right, right,
fresh and
right.
all."
How important are you finding? I think everyone agrees houses that are priced correctly
Yes.
will sell within a couple of days right now. Not priced or correctly is probably the ones that have been sitting for 2 or 3 weeks and haven't sold in 30 days type of thing. What are you what is your attitude when you're going there talking to staging? How important is to declutter a home?
Oh,
Or I mean, to
absolutely.
make to even
Absolutely.
though the house is a great house in a
Yeah,
great location, get that few extra dollars so that maybe they're not negotiating with you.
right, right. Yeah,
There's
you have to declutter. I mean, because if the people come in and they see all that stuff, they want to see their stuff.
Mhm.
They want to imagine themselves living there, not who's living there now. So less is always best.
How many I think marketing, all this kind of stuff we've been talking about is all marketing. When you list a house, you're marketing yourself and so
Hmm.
forth. If is there anything you've done in 5 years, which I imagine if there's not, there's got to be more than one. So this is an easy question. What is something that you did that you're like, yeah, I tried that. I would never do that again.
Oh, goodness. I'm trying to think. What
Mhm.
on a listing or just anything?
Anything,
Anything.
anything having to do with marketing.
Anything.
What kind of marketing campaign did you send postcards out and like that didn't,
Well, I've been told about postcards. I don't send out a lot of postcards.
Mhm.
I was told when I was on the team that you have to do it consistently to get anything out of it. So, like I have done the just sold or just listed postcards before, but I have never done it consistently. So, that's what I was told that you have to do it like all the time, over
Mhm.
and over. Like if you get one area that you're farming, you've got to do it consistently.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't just do
No,
it the once.
you made
You
me think
can't
of
just do it the
you
once.
made me think of Patty again and the story she tells about her mom getting the card in the neighborhood, you know, whatever quarterly or what for years.
Uh-huh.
And Patty talks about she said her father had passed away and mom calls her over. And of course, Patty's been in real estate for whatever amount of years. Her
Yeah.
husband's an appraiser. And her
Right.
mom goes, hey, when it's, the time, I want you to call the real estate agent that's in your father's desk. And literally she pulled out a stack of the postcards.
Yeah.
And her mom perceived this person to be the expert for that
For that
subdivision,
area.
even though Patty only lived 5 minutes away.
Right.
But that neighborhood was that real estate agent, and her mom,
Yeah.
she was that strong because she obviously this person consistently did it.
Exactly. That's
And
it.
that's 100.
Consistently.
Yeah.
You gotta have consistency in it. So that's why I haven't really done the postcards that much because I'm kind of all over the place, to be
Right.
honest with you,
Well, you are busy doing, what you're doing, and that's you found a niche. If you're trying to find something right now, postcarding your neighborhood consistently
Mm-hmm.
once a month or once a quarter, I don't think anyone throws away, or at least they stop and look. I used to get them in our neighborhood. We don't have anybody for actually farming my neighborhood right now. That consistent postcard said, hey, these homes sold in the last month.
Right.
And
Right.
for this price point, everybody will stop and they want to see what
They want to see. Yeah.
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 Well, I had just went to the MMT class that was presented at NEFAR, and the lady there that presented it, she lives in the Orange Park Country Club, and she farms that area and showed us like how to pull all that information and get up all that data.
Mhm.
And I thought, that's great. I
Yeah.
need to start doing that. So my mind's always thinking about all these things I need to be doing. And all
I
these
have
different
I have a
things.
vision. I have a videographer. I really actually wanted to do it here when I first got here because we have some smaller rooms. It's actually just paint the wall green because you can
Uh-huh.
get that chrome green
Yeah.
and actually set it up so agents could just pop in, do their market report. You could put this, the sign of the neighbor, whatever you want to put on
Yeah.
that green screen behind them, the
Uh-huh.
pictures, and let them do their market report. 5-10 minutes, boom, you got your video once a month and
Yeah.
go on. because, there are some agents doing it and they're having good success at
Yeah.
it, but it's one of those things you have to commit to it, that you're
You have to
consistently, you don't do it
consent.
2 months in a row and go, oh, I haven't got a deal yet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to be consistent with anything.
Well, you mentioned NEFAR. So one of my final questions here, education.
Yes.
How important is it to regularly, and even, especially if you're scheduling, whether you're scheduling it weekly or monthly, to attend some sort of training, whether it's being put on by a lender or NEFAR or a title company, how important it is to go to those things?
Oh, absolutely. You have to go to them. You have to stay abreast of what's going on with the current stuff. I mean, everything changes. I mean, we had to read the Who Moved My Cheese, it's constantly changing. Real estate is changing so much. I think about when I bought my first home in the 90s. Used to you call the realtor and the realtor had to show up and let you in and you didn't know what the house looked like till you got in.
Right.
Now you go on Zillow and you look at the pictures before you get there and decide if you want to go.
Right.
So it changes so much. It's even changed the 5 years I've been in. So you have to stay updated and current with things.
Would you agree with it? I feel a lot of agents neglect the actual, okay, there's the actual education piece of it, but the fact that you're in the room with other real estate agents that you may not know yet, and that you take some time where it's, a break or whatever to actually introduce yourselves, because you don't know who's going to be on the other side of that next transaction.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I've met a lot of people that I still talk with that way. One of the ladies, when I went to GRI, her and I formed a friendship, and she had just moved here from North Carolina, and she's a broker down here, and she was new to the area. So it's so important to network and get to know other people when you go to this because, I always say I might not be the smartest one in the room, but I can learn from somebody and take away something from it.
Right. Even just to, especially if someone's, working in the same area, or you get a listing maybe in an area that they're, busy in, or maybe in their subdivision, but they just happen to call you to do it, to be able to call that person and say, hey, do you have some people on your short list that are looking in there? Because that's the area they work in.
Right.
And it just starts, I think, the power of the fact that you thought of them and you make the phone call and you say, I know you work that subdivision.
That's your area.
My wife's working one now. My sister-in-law's selling her mother-in-law's house. And so obviously my wife's listing it, that when it's ready, the first thing she's going to do is make those phone calls to those people she knows that works that subdivision.
Absolutely.
And say, hey, you got people on your short list that, are looking for that.
Absolutely.
That style.
One of the ladies that I met from going to the NEFAR, she got out of the business and went to work for a builder. So she couldn't do general practice anymore. And so she called me. She had somebody that was looking to sell in Clay County. And she said, I know that's your area. And she referred it over to me.
Bam.
So like I said, it's always just treating others right. And that's what I don't understand about some of the transactions we do, the animosity, the back and forth, and it doesn't have to be like that.
So this person has said this. I apologize. I'm trying to remember who said it exactly, and they might not have been the only person that said it. But to remember, I know. I think it was Susan Hansen might have said this with Eagles World Realty. To understand, you're actually working together.
Yes.
You have a buyer, they have a seller, or vice versa, and your goal is to get to that closing.
Yeah.
So once it's not that they're not going to buy and they're not going to sell. It's like, okay, how we need to, work this so everybody comes together and we get to the closing table. Maybe they didn't get as much as they wanted. Maybe they paid a little bit more than they wanted to. But bottom line is, after they sign that document and they get their check and they get their keys, they don't care.
They don't care. Exactly. Yeah. And it's so much easier to try to work through a problem than kill the deal. That's the way I look at it. I always try to work to save that deal instead of just kill it. Some of them will get mad and because of the agent thing going on and they just want to kill it. No, if that's what the buyer wanted and then the seller's ready to sell, let's work through
How many buyers do you have that aren't emotionally attached at this point? They're 2 weeks into this transaction. They've told all their friends they're buying this house.
They're
and now
excited.
you want to be you're actually the one influencing killing the deal.
Right.
Why would you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one like that recently with the home inspection report, and I mean, I get home inspection report all the time. There was nothing there that was really a deal killer. Shoot, if they went to my house, they're gonna pick something apart.
Yeah,
That's their
yeah,
job, is to find something
right.
wrong.
Or just inform them of, hey, that's
Yeah.
10 years old. It might not only have a year left.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen,
Mhm.
I have flip houses too, and I had bought a new microwave, and they delivered the microwave. I didn't test it, it's right out of the box, you don't
Mhm.
test something right out of the box.
Right.
Home inspector come, it didn't work, and then they says, "Well, you didn't call us back 2 weeks within when it was delivered." And I said, "It's a flip house, I don't even live here to try it out." So I mean, it could be brand new
Right,
and not
right.
work. It's just products.
Yeah,
It's just
and
anything.
that's a simple. All right, we'll just get you a new microwave.
Well, they said because it was 2 weeks, they wouldn't
Oh, you fall from
replace
your
it.
flip. I'm talking about the seller or the buyer.
Yeah,
The buyer. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, well,
we get
we'll
you
get a new
another
one.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we
yeah.
did.
A new
Exactly.
stove. Those are easy ones.
It's easy fixes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not worth killing a deal over that stuff. Let's just work together.
How do you prep your if you're working with a buyer,
Mhm.
you're going to do these home inspections, and
Right.
and you and I know because we've done enough that stuff happens.
Exactly.
How do you set expectations? Eh, Give me an example of the conversation you're having with that buyer when they're going, whether it's something you do right at the beginning when you make your relationship, or like, okay, we're going under contract now. Tell me about how you express the expectations prior to
Well, right when
getting
I
it
go
going.
under contract, I send them a congratulations email, and
Mhm.
it breaks down the timeline of when everything's going to be done, and lets them know first they've got to make the binder. That's the first thing we got to do. Next thing is we got to do the home inspection if they want to do the home inspection. You don't have to do it, but we highly recommend it. And then, of course, where I'm at, most people are on septic wells. All
Mhm.
those are more inspections, more
Yeah.
stuff. And that's if they want to do that. And first time home buyers, I let them know now you're going to get a 77-page report that's going to tell you everything that's wrong with the house and the home inspector's opinion. And it can be a crack in concrete. We're in Florida, concrete cracks, all of it does
Mhm.
over time. It's not even to me worth mentioning. But like you
Unless it's the
said,
foundation of the sagging.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. But
Yeah.
they have to do it, and I get it. They have to do it to protect themselves,
Mhm.
because somebody sued somebody or whatever. But just let's talk about it after you get it. Don't freak out. It's going to be fine. Let's talk about it. And then, of course, I want to point out to them if I find major stuff, like if the roof, you can't get insurance on the roof. Now, that's a major
Yeah.
problem.
Yep.
If the panel box, can't get insurance on it, that's a problem. But the little stuff, if they still like the house, let's move forward with it. We
Mhm.
can work through all this other stuff.
We're coming, I believe, with the new expressway going in,
Mm-hmm. It's
mm,
going right above me.
n- going all the way out to Stark is
Yeah.
not going to be a big deal. And there's a lot of homes out there that
Yes, there
are
is.
post World War II
Mm-hmm.
cinder block homes. And so
Mm-hmm.
and then on top of that, you've got, the second part, the question, you get these older homes, but then obviously we know we already have developers who have already purchased land out there. And
Right.
it's coming because obviously the new bridge isn't going to be supposedly done till 29, according to the
Right.
website.
2029.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to have this shift in this drive to the west, or I think even obviously south to Palatka as well
Yeah.
from that standpoint. But when someone's going in, they're looking at it, whether it's that 1950, 60 home that someone's probably lived in there for 30 or 40 years,
Yeah.
or since it was originally built, and they're taking to buying even new construction. The
Absolutely.
importance of going in and having that inspection report, because Austin Gray put out this great video of this $1 million brand new home,
Mm-hmm.
and what he was showing, that 1960 home is much better built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
But as I'm sure you've experienced too out there, some of these homes, yeah, they need to be replumbed, they need to be
Yeah.
rewired.
Right.
You know,
Well, that's how this one I was talking to you about, it was a 1955 home. You're not going to get a brand new home in that price point that she was looking at. This is an older home, but it's been there for 68 years. it hasn't went anywhere. It's
Okay.
in good shape.
Right.
Maybe the plumbing needs to be updated. Is that going to be next year, 5 years, 10 years? I don't know what it's going to be. But that's home ownership.
Mhm.
There's going to be stuff that comes up. And a lot of things with, the millennials, I hate to pick on them, but they want to move into a house and it to be perfect to start with. I've owned 4 homes and none of them are perfect to start with. Even
Mhm.
a brand new house I bought. There's always stuff you're going to want to do to it and things you're going to want to do to make it yourself. You know, the main thing is pick the location that you want, that you can live with and the layout that you like. But the inside stuff you can alter.
Are you finding that some of this some savvy investors are starting to, when some of these homes that are selling on the outskirts, if you want to
Mhm.
call it that, in the more rural areas, they're getting a little more savvy, or you got that manufactured home that's sitting on 10 acres. Investors are going out and grabbing those up, knowing that in 5 to 10 years, the price of the home is definitely going to appreciate, just the fact that highway's now going to be,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
right, yeah, because it's just gonna keep booming out there.
Mhm.
I mean, the Clay County schools are number 4, so people are wanting to move to Clay County. It's a bedroom community at Jacksonville. They don't want all the traffic. They think they don't want all the traffic, but we got traffic in Clay
Yeah,
County too. If you've
yeah,
ever been down Blanding or 17, it's
yeah,
bumper to bumper.
yeah.
But, I think especially with COVID, people wanted to be further out, more in the country, not so on top of one another. That's when we notice a lot more
Well,
growth out
and the
there.
fact, yeah, I mean, the fact that, I mean, the internet can get there.
Yeah, right.
There isn't such a demand to be consistently in the office.
Mhm.
Although I do feel we have a nation, we've taken a step back because we allowed too many people to work from home
Mm.
that had no experience. They're being hired. They haven't even met anyone at the office or the company they're working at. It's all been virtual.
Yeah.
And now there are obviously some skilled people, but for the most part, a good portion of the population actually needs to come into office a period of time.
Absolutely, right. I
Yeah.
believe that so
Yeah.
much because, like, people did get spoiled. They don't wanna go back to the office. They wanna work from home, and some jobs you can't. You still gotta show up. I mean, you gotta be there.
Yeah. You might see somebody on a webinar. I mean, we do a lot of webinars,
Uh-huh.
national company. We have a lot of
Right.
trainings and so forth. And, you're seeing that person is, they're doing the training. They're talking to whatever, 40, 50 people, whatever's on the call. You're not building that relationship. You don't have that sales manager that you could walk in and say, because it's some crazy question, you're new to the company and you don't,
Mhm.
how do we handle, who should I call to help me get this done?
Mhm.
Type of thing. And we lose that. And then, so I think if, those people, those millennials, you ask them where the hot water heater is in the house, they're like, well, hot
They
water heater, what's that?
what does that look like?
Yeah. And so, let alone they're working from home and you're like, oh, I got to solve a problem. Well, how long did they just sit there and do nothing?
Yeah,
Because they're sitting at home and nobody's looking over their shoulder. But yeah, but
right.
eventually, how many hours went by before they actually solved the problem? Yeah, I think there's a lot of that going on. But that's
Oh,
the whole,
that's a
yeah.
lot of that going
So
on.
I do
Yeah.
think it's worthwhile. But then again, the expressway is going in,
Mhm.
and it's just going to make that transition, whether it's coming from Stark or coming from Palatka.
Mhm.
I think there's a treasures down in Palatka. You're a fisherman. You want a little piece of your own America down there.
Yep.
Whether you just want to put a manufactured home on it or buy a property that has an older manufactured home on it and get rid of it and eventually build something,
Yeah, I
whatever.
have a lot of people that do that. They'll
Yeah.
get older mobile homes, go in there, gut them,
Yep.
completely clean them up,
Yep.
and then I'll go in, I'm like, "Is this the same place?"
Mhm.
Because it's amazing what they can do, you know?
I have been in the mystery of why Hastings is not taken off. Now that the county is St. Johns County is
Right.
taking it over, I'm thinking like, okay, why hasn't the developers gone out there? I'm like,
I don't know.
you got a nice highway going out
Yeah,
there. You're on the river. I'm like, what a perfect place for another Villages.
yeah. That was
Yeah.
one of the first listings I ever got in real estate. It was one of my friends. She gave it to me. It was her dad. I drove down there. I was like, "Oh, that's a long ways down here."
Yeah.
But when I got down there, it reminded me of like Middleburg and Keystone and stuff. It
Yep.
was very rural and
Yeah.
secluded. It was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. For if you you build a 55-year-old community. You were talking about 55-year-old community.
Yeah, the one
Build
I've
some
got now.
55-year-old communities out there with some golf courses and a grocery store. That's what all the retirees really.
Oh, yeah, and those aren't as big up here. The 55 plus communities aren't as big, I've noticed, in Jacksonville as they are down more in Central Florida and South Florida.
Daytona's got a lot of that kind of situation where they built entire communities around a small golf course with manufactured homes, double wide. They're nice and so forth. They're laid out beautifully, but inexpensive. Build, which obviously affordable housing, obviously, is a challenge. It's a
That
whole
is
nother
a challenge.
podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast. Exactly.
I'm going to wrap up. This is my last formal question here.
Okay.
What are the 3 most important things you've learned as an agent?
I would say communication. You cannot over communicate. You always have to communicate with your buyer, your seller, whoever you're representing, the title company, the agent on the other side. Just be a good communicator, always talking. Even if there's a problem, just bring it up, don't hide it. Because if you hide it, it's going to come out anyway. So just be
you get paid
frank
as
about
good
it.
as you do because you solve problems.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And they don't have to know, when you're sweating it, you don't have to let them know that part of it. But you do need to communicate with them.
Right.
The other thing is be coachable, always be willing to learn from other people. Because like I told you before, I'm not the smartest one in the room, but I can always learn from somebody.
Right.
And I don't want to appear that I'm the smartest, because I want to always learn. If you're doing something successful, I want to learn from you. And the other thing would be commitment to the customer. Be dedicated to your customer and getting them to the finish line.
Mm-hmm. I liked the way earlier when you talked about the vacant lots, you that was one of your first deals.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I was talking with the Joy and Laura from Hover Girls, and they got started doing rentals, and a lot and it's the same mindset. You're interacting with somebody. You're interacting with somebody who hopefully might be a referral or a purchase later or whatever, but you're actively talking about real estate. You're working with somebody. So sometimes you've got to take something. Yeah, I'm only making a few $100 on this one because it's a $10,000, $15,000 lot. Or $50,000 lot even, it's $1,500 to you, or you got that rental deal and you just take that one, thing because you had to show them around a few places, but that person hopefully is going to turn in, or their friend might want to buy. And I think a lot of agents neglect that, especially, I wouldn't say especially early on, whether they're early on or even later, is if there's times where you got to just grab whatever you can. You got to keep interacting.
Yeah, you do.
Like you said, face to face, getting face to face.
And I remember one time when I was at the bank, a girl went up and she did a demonstration for us. She went around the room. There was 30 people in the room. And she said, tell me how many accounts you have at the bank, whatever they are. They could be a checking savings. They could be an ATM, a check card, a credit card. How many do you have? To each person out of 30 people, that was 550. She said, this is 550 transactions.
Right.
So being nice to you and treating you right. I don't know who that you can refer me over to.
The new friend moves into town and they like the bank local. Their bank's not here. It's not Bank of America or something. They want to,
I mean, you just never know. Yep. That's why it's always treat everybody with respect, and it'll come back to you.
In certain sales things, a lot of times I've if you're making cold calls, to not approach that person as if you're trying to sell them.
Absolutely.
It's who you want to know who they know.
Right.
Hey, I just want I know you're a really popular person in the neighborhood and so forth. Who do you know that might want to, well, I want to sell my house.
Mm-hmm.
That it might actually end up that way. Or they're going to turn around and say, well, I talked to Sally just this past weekend. They were talking about listing the house. You might want to go call her. But don't, kind of not that you're looking through them, but just pretend it's not them that you're trying to sell. You're trying to sell their friend. So they'll sell their friend off all the time.
Yeah, I
know. All right. Is there anything that you want to add here to our conversation that maybe we didn't talk about? Is there certain things that you specialize in or you enjoy doing? I hate that. I don't like that question myself because I don't think any lender should I like to do this, and then people think they don't do that because he likes to do this. That's not true.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I really like to do everything. I really like to help seniors, though. That's where my passion is, because I was telling you, my parents are aging, and So I've had to deal with a lot of stuff with them,
Right.
with getting them in nursing homes and taking care of their medical stuff and doctor's appointments and all that and downsizing the house and things like
Yeah.
that. So it's a lot when you go through a life change like that. So, but I like that area. I
Right.
mean, I like all of it, but
Right.
I really that's my heart.
Right. 100%. This is my informal question I ask at the end of every show.
Yes.
Is it more important who you know or what you know and why?
That is tough. I would say it's probably more who you know because I have been blessed with having people that have invested in me and helped me along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I can learn anything. I can go to Google. I can learn about anything, but it's to me, it's more who you know.
Or if you're hungry and you see this, but you're asking what they do a lot, that they'll tell you what you need to learn,
Right.
or teach it to you,
Teach
whatever.
it to you
Teach
if
it.
you're
Yeah.
teachable. Exactly.
I think it's one of the things I think most people, if not ever, there's nothing more they enjoy than to be able to teach you something, and then
Mhm.
you take it and you are successful with it. I think there's nothing more enjoyable than being able to say, yeah, I don't.
Yeah. And see, that's what I'm trying to do now
Yeah.
because I'm getting more comfortable with real estate and I've been in it a while. I'm
Mhm.
trying to give back to other agents and
Yeah.
teach them.
100%. Lisa, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
your information will be in the show notes here. Your information will be in the show notes.
Okay.
This will see what's today, Monday. This will go out on Apple on Thursday. This video, obviously, that we did live, the edited video will go on YouTube, by Thursday as well, and you'll start seeing your reels on Instagram and YouTube Shorts and stuff. So obviously, I'll tag you on there so you know they're there. So
That's
I
awesome.
really enjoyed our conversation.
I did too.
Thank you.
Thank you.